Does it know I'm the host? Okay, so I can like this. It's sharing. Is it recording?
No, it's screen sharing.
Okay, how do I record? Is it recording?
It's now it's.
Okay, so I want to open up my files here, and okay. And here, click here. Okay. Why doesn't it go to, where is it most recent? Most recent here? Here?
Yes.
No, it's not. Just a second. Okay. Just a second. Okay, go here. Like this. And click on lesson plan. Okay, are you ready for attendance, everybody? Hooray! So stay, wait a minute, stay here, don't go anywhere. Yeah. Wait, how do I? Here? Oh, it's like campus, yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you very much. All right, everybody. So are you ready for smart attendance? Smart attendance number is, ready, set, go. It's 330. 330 is your cyber attendance number, 330. Okay, and so thank you very much to my assistant for showing me another way of accessing this without having to just go to my Gmail account. But that means I got to log into my Gmail account. I have to make sure I sign out on my Gmail account here on this computer. And yeah. Okay. So I go to here. No, here. And then yeah, what, how do I disable waiting room?
So you see there's 3 adults right down there.
Yeah.
That that one. And they just let it.
Which one?
Get up.
Okay, thank you. Yay. All right. So and I wanted to get rid of that, and so how do I get rid of the screen? Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is exciting, isn't it? Yeah, it's really exciting. So okay, so woo! Too much excitement, way too much excitement in this class. You know, I mean, so and I have here a microphone, and then I got all too much stuff in my pockets that I got to bring to this. All right, so and you're reading now about the impact of mass communications. Hooray, mass communications! Woohoo, mass communications! So should I put on this microphone little over thing here, and you know, and let's see if I can, because we want to be cleanliness and everything. So. Testing, testing. Ooh, that's exciting. Okay, so let me put the little protector thing on here because we have to be always corona conscious. Always corona conscious. Okay, so, and this mask is not working very well. All right, so the impact of mass communication is your notes, are your notes for this week. And before we do that, let me also highlight that we have a debate. Ho Young Park and Jo Sung Hyun are going to go one-on-one against each other on Friday. Two South Koreans. The global rise of social media has significantly increased the impact of human rights issues in shaping U.S. and ROK foreign policy. And that's a very timely topic, isn't it? You know, I'm an old man, and since I'm an old man, I remember the world before the internet and social media. And then I remember when social media emerged, when Facebook and Google and my students in Bulgaria saying, "Oh, Professor Ben, you should get a Facebook account." I said, "What's Facebook?" "Oh, it's a great way to share photographs." They were talking about Facebook as a nice way to share pictures that you take, right? And so I got a Facebook account. And when social media emerged, there was all this discussion promoted by, of course, Mark Zuckerberg and the other founders of social media about how social media would be so empowering. It would provide a voice for the weak to be able to challenge what the powerful money vested interests were telling them through corporate media and through public relations offices of corporations and companies. And it would provide a vehicle for democracy, for more genuine participation of the little guy, you and me, in policymaking. Yay! And then the dark side of the social media emerged. Of course, the dark side involves the propagation of lies, of propaganda, of false information, of spreading hate speech, including white nationalism, racism, neo-Nazism, through all sorts of social media channels, and increasing support for white nationalists who now, or neo-Nazis in Europe and elsewhere, who can use the social media to gain global audience, a global framework, and increase their support, and increase support for militant radical actors, nationalists and otherwise, but particularly nationalists. But then on the other side, still we see how social media is playing such an important role in highlighting abuses in authoritarian countries like, for example, Egypt or Nigeria today, where there are lots of reports about how the Nigerian police are shooting and killing people like you, students, who are protesting against the corrupt and abusive police forces who use their power to take money from you, to arrest you and force you to pay bribes. And this is all being recorded with who's got their smartphones. On your smartphones, you have a smartphone, you have a smartphone, you have a smartphone. You are all hereby now officially, not officially, but de facto, investigative journalists. All of us. You, me, because you all have smartphones, and you can interview people, and you can film events, and you can interview people and film events and upload those events, those shootings by policemen of protesters and abuse happening to you, and upload them through social media around the whole world so the whole world can see the terrible things going on in Belarus or Nigeria or any country. So good and bad sides of social media. And of course, maybe the biggest or most famous beneficiary of social media is Donald Trump. Donald Trump built his public opinion support largely through using Twitter.
right? Through social media. And so this is the context for this debate, that is the world a better place because of social media? Are human rights more respected, generally speaking, among the 7.5 billion people in the world today? This is already wet. Once it gets wet, you can't use it anymore. Among the 7.5 billion people in the world, has human rights protection improved because of social media? Or is it both improved and gotten worse because of social media? In other words, has it really made no fundamental overall difference in terms of protection of human rights, in terms of, rephrasing, preventing abuse of you and me by agents of the state, people that serve on behalf of the government? They abuse us because their abuse is kept secret or hidden. Is social media exposing that abuse? Or is it also encouraging abuse? It's encouraging abuse by de facto state agents. Now, you see, again, I just got an idea, right? Maybe you can almost see it. There's a light bulb on top of my head, and it just went bing, because I just got an idea. And that's why I like to teach. One of the reasons why teaching is important, I get new ideas from having to stand up here and talk with you. Because one of the topics that I've been thinking about is, what is a state agent? Yeah, you can identify state agents by uniforms. A state agent includes a South Korean soldier. Jumel, have you served in the French military? No, right? If he does, he puts on a uniform and he becomes a state agent. Or you can work in the gendarmerie in France, or the South Korean police, and you become an agent of the state. But what about de facto, unofficial, but still de facto agents of the state? What if I am an authoritarian government and I hire thugs, unofficial people, to work for me to punish and kill and intimidate my political opponents? Aren't those state agents? Well, unofficially, that's a big topic in international law. I used to teach international law. And what is a state agent? This is very topical today, right? The Americans are hiring private military security firms for outsourcing to do much of their police, much of their military work in Afghanistan and in Syria and Iraq. Blackwater Corporation. The Russians also are setting up private contractors that are officially private, but they get a contract from the government or maybe from a Russian businessman. The Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is a Russian contracting private mercenary organization. Are those people state agents? If I use social media to encourage people on behalf of the government of Iran to punish our enemies of the Iranian Islamic Republic, and you and I, or people like us, do that. We go out and beat up protesters against the Islamic Republic. Are we state agents? According to international law, we may be state agents. In other words, the Islamic Republic will be responsible, and the Islamic Republic officials would be responsible for things that we do unofficially for them. And social media can play a role in encouraging these unofficial state agents to abuse human rights by the government, while the government hides its hand and its responsibility. They like to hide their responsibility. So one could make the argument that maybe social media makes human rights abuses potentially worse by making it easier to organize, I'm making fun of I'm criticizing the Iranians. How about the United States? How about Donald Trump? He is calling upon white militia, white supremacist militants in America. Have you heard of the Proud Boys? Some of you nodding your head, Proud Boys. They're an unofficial, white-centric supremacist organization, and they're not officially working for the US government, and he has indicated to them through the media that they should help make sure that he wins tomorrow in the US election by going to polling places where we're going to vote, Americans can vote, and scaring people. Hey, you're a black person. I'm watching you. I'm a proud boy. I got my gun. Yeah. I'm a black person. He might shoot me, or I'll get in trouble, or he'll do something bad to me. Again, are those Proud Boys state agents? You could make the argument that those are agents of the state, of the American state, by Donald Trump. So this is not just about Iranians and Libyans and Afghanistan. This is America. What is a state agent? And social media can play a role, is playing a role in mobilizing these unofficial, and therefore plausibly deniable state agents who are doing Donald Trump's bad, dirty work. But okay, so this is all very much in the news today, and it's changing very, very quickly because of the pace of change in the media, in technology, in social media, in particular, the internet. And so we'll have a very interesting debate on this topic on Friday. And so let's do a poll. Let me put this down and go here to, this is from yesterday in the New York Times. This is the right-wing commentator whose Facebook page performs better than those of major news organizations is perplexed by his social media success. Just a few years ago, hey, Italian, woo, was a B-list pundit working on the fringes of conservative media. A former police officer and secret security agent, Mr. Bongino, ran for Congress 3 times as a Republican. He lost all 3 races, then turned to punditry. In other words, writing his opinions. And he can write his opinions on Facebook or on Twitter or anywhere. You can write you can be a pundit. I can be a pundit. Anybody can be a pundit. A pundit is someone who is a commentator, opinionator on current affairs. And anybody can now be a pundit thanks to social media, where he had a bit more success. He appeared regularly with Alex Jones on InfoWars, then got his own show on NRA TV, and the National Rifle Association's now defunct online media arm. After the 2016 election, he became one of Fox News' most prolific contributors, a pro-Trump attack dog who could be called on to defend the president and humiliate his enemies. So I guess this is a good point as any to make a point, right? That thanks to social media, anybody can be a pundit. And you, or me, Jamel, Horyang, anyone, you have strong emotions. I have strong emotions. I have strong emotions about many things. Jamel has strong emotions about many things. We have strong emotions about our family. We have strong emotions about our friends. We have strong emotions about our careers. And we have strong emotions about our nations. Horyang, do you love Korea? Yes, she loves Korea. Jamel, do you love France? France, yes. Ben Domenech, do I love America? Probably. And I also love other things and have other values. And as we talked about in other classes, right, it's my tendency as a human being to see a world around me in which everything that I want goes together. So let's say I'm a conservative authoritarian person. I like to have someone tell me what to do. I'm an authoritarian personality. And I am conservative and religious, right? And I'm an American nationalist. I love America. I am likely to believe that what is a good American? What is a good American? A good American is religious, loves Jesus, and favors traditional family values, quote unquote. If you're a supporter of the national rally of Marine Le Pen in France, what is a good Frenchman? A good Frenchman is white, speaks French, and is Catholic. Right? Now, you might disagree, Jumel, and you might disagree with me about what is good for America, but I really believe that what is good for America is religion and traditional values. You say you love America. Let's pretend Ho-Ryong is American. She's Alice. What's your English name, Ho-Ryong? You have an English name? Okay, let's give her an English name. That's Alice. Alice Pak also loves America, but she thinks America is all about diversity and respect for the underdog, and that America has a bad history of abuse and by state agents of the human rights of African Americans, of women, and so on. And she favors allowing same-sex marriage, LGBTQ rights, and allowing men to marry men and women to marry women, and to be able to adopt children. We both love America. I'm going to view her with intense distaste. I'm going to hate her. And she is going to hate me, likely. We're going to hate each other. And we might hate each other, but 50 years ago, we all read the same newspapers. 50 years ago, back in 1970, we all watched the same television. There were 3 television channels: American Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, NBC, National Broadcasting Corporation, and CBS, Columbia Broadcasting System. And that was it. We watched the same news, we read the same newspapers, we listened to the same radio. 50 years later, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of different sources of news. And I want to view myself as being a good American. A good American pays attention to politics. A good American watches and learns about the news. A good American engages in dialogue and discussion with other Americans about politics and elections and Donald Trump and so on. But there are a lot of bad Americans out there. But thanks to social media, I can find other Americans like me who say what I already feel in my heart. What I know in my heart is true. That a man and a woman are only 2 people that can get married. That abortion is wrong. That Israel is good. And Israel should be the homeland for the Jews. And I will know that. I will believe it in my heart. And thanks to social media, I can instantaneously meet up with thousands and thousands of people who believe the same things I do, who feel the same thing in their heart that I feel. And I will like reading their social media. I will like reading those news sources, Fox News. And Fox News is for profit. It's a business. It's a business. It's producing a product that it wants people to consume, to eat. And that means it has to produce a product that's tasty and delicious. Tasty and delicious to not everybody, because you can't be tasty and delicious to everybody, right? You can't be tasty and delicious to everybody in terms of their opinions. So you have to pick a niche. You have to pick a piece of the American public that is going to be your market, that's going to consume the news that you produce. And the more of those people you get to watch you, to consume your news, you can hire, you can sell more advertising space to advertisers on your media platform. And it might even be a social media platform. And you know there are thousands of competitors, thousands and thousands of other media sources out there. So you're not going to make a product that is delicious and sweet to everybody because you can't. So you target a niche market and you tell them what they believe to be true, and they will want to keep watching, and they might even pay you money. They might even subscribe, pay a subscription fee to your news source. And so a consequence is, since the rise of internet, and particularly social media, the media communications market has been broken up into many, 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 many segmented, isolated markets, right? People read news sources that already confirm or correspond to what they in their heart know is right. That like traditional conservative values are right and gay rights is wrong. And so that has been the communication environment in which politics happens and policymaking happens in the United States, including public policy and foreign policy, in which people are reading what they already believe, which they are told is news, or news analysis, or news opinion, or punditry, editorial, and they are having their views reinforced, strengthened, becoming stronger because they have thousands and thousands of other people who say, yes, what you say is right. It becomes like a big sports football game event. People are reinforcing and confirming each other's views and getting more and more emotional. And some people who are already having problems in their head, in their brain, some people go crazy. They take guns and they go kill people who have alternate opposing views. Because what they believe is continually reinforced. This is called an echo chamber. But it's more than echo chamber media. It's reinforcing what people already want to believe, and they can say, well, look at all these other people who believe and say the same thing that I believe. Are we wrong? How can we be wrong if there are so many of us? So this is the latest news report here about how this person is more popular as a social media commentator on his Facebook page than the New York Times Facebook page, than the Washington Post Facebook page, and CNN combined. These are three of the oldest, most prestigious traditional news sources. And this man, Dan Bongino's Facebook page, gets more traffic, more attention for news than this newspaper, which is the most authoritative newspaper in America, or this newspaper, or this cable news network, which is 40 years old. This started in 1980, 40 years ago, CNN. And it goes on here. I first noticed Ms. Bongino's profile rising a few months ago when I started compiling a list of the top performing Facebook posts every day. You all have Facebook pages, right? You all do? I used to use Facebook before we started using Zoom and Cyber Campus for the class, but now we're all using Cyber Campus. Mr. Bongino appeared on the list more often than not, and frequently trounced much better known commentators like Sean Hannity and Ben Shapiro. This month, for example, Mr. Bongino has gotten nearly twice as many Facebook interactions as Mr. Shapiro, despite having a much smaller following. So this guy Shapiro is well known as another right-wing conservative commentator. Mr. Bongino, 45, has become a lightning rod on the left, both because of his growing audience and because he has been criticized for posting exaggerated, misleading information. I missed what he said earlier, right? Well, yeah. It says here, I just want to make sure I missed this last time. My entire life right now is about owning the libs. Libs is short for liberals. Owning the liberals. In other words, that's American slang for dominating them, defeating them. Right? The libs, the liberals, the progressives, you know, the Democrats. It goes on here. Mr. Bongino has become a lightning rod on the left, both because of his growing audience and because he's been criticized for posting exaggerated, misleading information. He was one of the most aggressive promoters of Spygate, a dubious conspiracy theory about an illegal Democratic plot to spy on Mr. Trump's campaign. Remember, we talked about stereotyping. We talked about how nationalism, stereotyping, and emotion all go together. Stereotyping means conspiracy theory, seeing conspiracies. It's the Jews, the Freemasons, the Jews and the Freemasons, and the capitalists are George Soros, the most famous American Hungarian Jew, is frequently a target of these nationalist stereotypings. And Donald Trump knows this. Donald Trump appeals to those people, to their conspiracy thinking, conspiracy worldviews, believing there's a secret, hidden society or group hidden from media that's controlling your life, my life, our world. Right? Conspiracy, stereotyping. And he falsely claimed that masks, this, are a large and effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19, and has promoted unproven claims about voter fraud as well as stoking fears about Democrat-led coup. That Donald Trump's going to win tomorrow, and the Democrats are going to seize power to prevent Donald Trump from staying in office. Why do these nationalists, American nationalists, focus on this? For the same reason they deny climate change, that it's a threat to American sovereignty, that we're going to let the United Nations, through the Paris Accord and other global international organizations, control and shape South Korean policy, French policy, American government policy. Is a threat to American sovereignty. Particularly has legitimated or claimed is correct because of science, that scientists are transnational. Scientists are cosmopolitan. Scientists are a threat because science is truth. Science doesn't depend upon national boundaries in terms of its content. So scientists and science are seen as a threat by American nationalists because they're seen as representing the United Nations and other international organizations that focus on global issues. So, plenty of people have fact-checked Mr. Bongino, but nobody has figured out what exactly has lifted him above the legions of other pro-Trump influencers battling for attention online. I called Mr. Bongino the other day hoping to learn something about how he became Facebook's biggest right-wing star. He said he had no idea how. I don't know what it is, he said. The strategy didn't change at all. I think people just like the message. A charming thing about social media, or a terrifying one, depending on your perspective, is that it often creates stars who have no idea how they got there. And Olympic gymnast or a world-class violinist follows a well-worn path, but every day, YouTubers, TikTok stars, and Facebook pundits wake up to millions of new followers just because their personas happen to fit into the grooves of a platform's algorithm. So if you are on social media, the social media, because it's trying to make money, wants you to stay on social media and see other things on social media that you like. So you spend more time there, and more advertisers who buy advertising time on Facebook because you spend lots of time, and lots of people spend lots of time on it. Something like what? 3 billion people or more have Facebook accounts out of 7.5 billion?
That's big money. Mark Zuckerberg, I think Facebook is almost worth $1 trillion, $1,000 billion. This company is only 30 years old. And that's an algorithm. An algorithm is a computer formula that highlights to you new posts and new friends that you might want to like and follow because they follow and like the same things that you like. Right? So they're claiming here that these automatic algorithms are producing these big followings for people like Dan Bongino, who claims, I don't know why I'm so popular. Granted, Mr. Bongino's shtick, that's American slang for your show or your performance, is not exactly new. His brand of right-wing pop pugilism is similar to what radio talk show hosts like Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levine have been doing for decades. Yeah, Rush Limbaugh and radio talk show was the beginning of this, back in the 1970s with AM radio. Donald Trump awarded this person the highest Medal of Honor available early this year in January to Rush Limbaugh, the Medal of Freedom, because, of course, Donald Trump represents these people and benefited from them and their mobilization of their listeners to support Donald Trump. He's got cancer. He's going to die soon. But you know, in January, Donald Trump gave him the Medal of Freedom. He is good at turning daily culture war skirmishes into hyper-partisan outrage bait. Clickbait, right? I'm outraged. Oh, those liberals. They're trying to allow gay people to be able to, gay teachers to be allowed to kiss each other in front of their students. I'm outraged. Ah! And people like to be outraged. People like to feel, people want to be entertained. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? News is entertainment. News is entertainment. We call it news because we want to be respected. I read the news. You read the news. I'm a good American citizen. I'm a good French citizen. I follow the news. It's entertainment that's labeled news for you and me to consume based on what I like, what is tasty to me. And I like conservative, populist information if I'm your typical American citizen. Right? It's entertainment masquerading as news. But like I told you, when I was your age and younger, there were just 3 televisions. There was no internet. There was radio, and there were 3 television networks. And if you wanted to watch the national world news, to learn about the war in Vietnam, about the latest conflict, battle in Vietnam, you had to go to NBC and watch what was the Huntley Brinkley report under David Brinkley. His daughter is Christy Brinkley. You know who Christy Brinkley is? You know who she's my age. She was a famous model 30 years ago. The Huntley Brinkley report on NBC. Walter Cronkite on CBS. You don't know who he is. And on ABC, it was Frank Reynolds. That's it. And then CNN began in 1980. And Fox began in 1993. And then the internet exploded. Since the 90s. And now there are thousands, an infinite number of news sources. With a outrage bait, with a recurring cast of recurring left-wing villains, ooh, bad guys, and right-wing heroes who inevitably show up to dunk on them. Typical headline: CNN's Fredo schooled on his brother's coronavirus policies. Do you know what this refers to? Andrew Cuomo is Democratic governor of New York State. He did a good job of controlling the coronavirus. His brother, Chris Cuomo, is a CNN commentator. Cuomo is an Italian name. Any of you watch Godfather? You ever see the Godfather films? Fredo was Al Pacino's brother, who was older than him and kind of stupid. And he ends up being killed by Al Pacino playing the new young Godfather because Fredo is dumb and makes a mistake. Alfredo. Fredo is short for Alfredo, right? So CNN's Fredo Quiscomo schooled on his brother's coronavirus policies. And this is supposed to be an insult to Italian Americans. You don't want to be like Fredo in The Godfather. And he is skilled at a certain type of industrial scale content production that is valuable in today's internet, flooding social media with a torrent of original posts, remixed memes and videos and found footage. Mr. Bongino's popularity began to spike during this spring's COVID-19 lockdowns as election season began to heat up, and QAnon, the pro-Trump conspiracy movement, grew in popularity. You know what QAnon is? You do? You've heard of QAnon? It's this bizarre ass conspiracy social media event. Let's see if I can find it on Wikipedia in case you want to read about it. That portrays a world in which the Democrats are, the Democratic Party of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton are part of a worldwide satanic Satan worshiping cabal, that conspiracy that is ruling the world so that they can. What happened? Is this blocked in Korea? Oh, yeah, I got to go to English. This global block of it's a Democratic Party block of pedophiles. They are taking children and stealing children to have sex with them, and not even engaging in sex trafficking with children, a global sex trafficking network with children, but also eating the children. They're cannibals eating the children, and this has got millions of followers on the social media, QAnon. And QAnon started on another channel called 4chan, some social media channel. There's no limits to them. And alleging that a far-right conspiracy alleging a cabal of Satan-worshiping pedophiles is running a global sex trafficking ring and plotting against U.S. President Donald Trump. And that Donald Trump is Q. And Donald Trump is secretly battling this cabal of Satan-worshiping pedophiles based around the Democratic Party and George Soros. And millions of people follow this. It's been described as some kind of secular church. Like, you really believe that these people are pedophiles who are eating children as well? Because children's bodies have some chemical that they need in order to stay young. Maybe they don't believe it, but they want to be part of a group that believes it. Have you played role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons? You know, it's like being part of a religion, part of a group. Yeah, man, we're all part of this group, and we hate those leftist liberal Democrats. And the fear is that some of these people who are already unstable will start killing them. So, and Donald Trump appeals to these people, not directly, but indirectly, because a lot of them believe that Donald Trump is the one who's at the lead, in secret, privately fighting this worldwide cabal group, hidden group of sex trafficking pedophiles who are eating children. If you're Xi Jinping in China, this is why you Americans want us to democratize, so you can allow this kind of shit to infect your people's thinking. This is freedom, what you think we Chinese should do. You can't even get your virus under control. But you let this go out of control too. No, I don't think we need American democracy. Thank you. So that's there's a big Wikipedia entry on it. The common logo used by QAnon followers.
False claims that the CIA installed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un as a puppet ruler. A February 16, 2008 false claim that U.S. Representative, former Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz hired Salvador MS-13 gang members to murder the DNC. So just all sorts of bullshit. Like a March 1, 2018 parent suggested German China as Adolf Hitler's granddaughter. This is a long, look at this, is a long Wikipedia entry on this. So Mr. Bongino is not a QAnon promoter, but his content is popular with the movement's supporters. It's a movement. Unlike Mr. Shapiro, whose website, The Daily Wire, was caught using a network of affiliated network pages, Facebook, to generate traffic, Mr. Bongino swears he has absolutely, categorically 100% never used any underhanded tactics to boost his Facebook presence. We don't use bots. We don't even advertise much on Facebook, he said. He credits his popularity instead to Facebook's older and more conservative user base. Old people like me use Facebook. What social media do you use? Yeah. I mean, I just got an Instagram account, but Facebook is already for old people like me, right? Everybody else is doing Instagram, but that's for older people, Facebook. And it goes on here. Okay, so please respond to the following statement. The rise of social media is the primary reason for the election of Donald Trump as US President in 2016. And I ask this because he has millions of Twitter followers. He has millions of Twitter followers. Let's see if I can open up my Twitter account. Do you have Twitter? Do you follow Twitter? Any of you? No? Because again, that's an old person's thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it because I don't remember my account. Sign on.
That's your phone number.
Oh! Okay.
That's like creating an account.
Yeah, I don't want to create an account. I thought, you know, what's this?
You have to go to the light.
This one. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I just wanted to show you Donald Trump is always posting to Twitter all the time. You know this, right? That must be reported in the Korean media about how Donald Trump is always tweeting, right? Because he does it many times a day. No, I'm not going to be able to do it here right now. It's going to take too much time. But Donald Trump has millions and millions of followers, and he posts Twitter postings every day, sometimes 20, 30 a day, to his tens of millions of followers. Tens of millions of followers. So he doesn't need to go through the New York Times, through ABC News, through CBS. He doesn't need to get interviewed on the 3 television channels. He has direct access to millions of people around the planet instantaneously, thanks to social media. He would not be president without social media. Is that true? So let's do a poll. Okay, so please respond to the following statement. The rise of social media is the primary reason for the election of Donald Trump as US President in 2016. Go! So 1 minute. And you know, this is just a participation exercise. $15 seconds.
5 seconds. Okay. So there you see the results. And I guess I can just close that. And how did that happen? Look at that. Okay, so let's look at the notes. You know, I'm trying to cover the notes. I know you've already seen the notes. And but you know, I want to try to make the notes as interesting as possible. But you know, the notes in some sense already become outdated when we talk about media because of the internet and about internet technology. It's changing day by day, right? And so back when I was your age, the media were gatekeepers. If I was some crazy lunatic politician, Walter Cronkite, the moderator news reader for CBS, who was so powerful and influential, if he said to Americans that I am a silly person or a bad person, millions of Americans would go, oh. But there is not that role anymore. The media industry, the media authorities are no longer gatekeepers putting limits on American political public debate and discourse, who can no longer expel and excommunicate fringe, militant, radical actors like they used to play that role decades ago when there were just 3 television networks. And before the 3 television networks, they controlled also all the radio. And the newspapers also were conservative controllers of access to American public opinion. The media made American public opinion. People would pay attention to Walter Cronkite and his opinions about the Vietnam War in determining their own opinion. But now there are thousands of Walter Cronkites. You already saw some of them. Bongino, maybe overnight, just temporary overnight Cronkites. Bongino, Shapiro, Levine, Hannity. I could go on and on. They all have their own personal following among Americans. There is no longer these big, powerful media figures that play a role as unofficial guides on American public opinion because of the pluralization of the media. So, people use public social media to mobilize and coordinate their opposition, and that was originally supposed to be a good thing about social media, that it would challenge the powerful and make it easier for the weak and powerless to organize. And we do see that. We do see that happening in the Arab world, in Arab authoritarian countries, but we also see the dark side of the social media here in the United States and elsewhere, at least in my country. As a result, the US government cannot control the flow of information like it used to. These media people, they're like you and me. They have jobs, they have deadlines. Like you have deadlines in your paragraphs. If you're a journalist, you have a deadline. You have to satisfy your editor boss, producing good articles with useful information. And you have to cover, say, the latest advances in biotech development, technology development, or American military policy in Afghanistan. So they send you to Afghanistan as a journalist, and who are you going to talk to most of the time when you're covering American military policy in Afghanistan? Who are you going to talk to? Who do you think you're going to talk to? American military! If you're based in Washington and you're beat, that's the term for what your area of responsibility is as a journalist. Your beat is the US Defense Department. Your beat is the Pentagon. You're going to spend all of your time, or at least 80% of your time,
Where? At the Pentagon! Who's got the information you need on this vast, complex bureaucracy that employs millions of people, that spends hundreds of billions of dollars a year, that's in 170 different countries? Who? You're just a reporter. You're just a reporter. You might know some college professors, and you might know some former soldiers, and so on. But you're going to spend your time talking to the Defense Department officials. And you believe in Santa Claus? Do you believe in Santa Claus? No, right? If somebody gives you something, they want something in return. Nobody gives you anything for free in this world. And if I'm a Defense Department official, or a Treasury Department official, or a State Department official, and I share with you, this journalist, who has a deadline and needs information to submit an article by 5 o'clock this evening, and I have this valuable, interesting information, you're going to try to protect me as a useful source, because you can come to me today, and tomorrow, and next week, and I will give you information that makes me and my organization look very nice and very good into the American public in good news reports. Bye-bye. So in this way, the US government used to control the media because the government had 80% of the information you needed as journalists in an intensely competitive for-profit industry that's cutthroat. You have to beat your competitors in writing stories that get attention, that get advertisers to pay to advertise on your television channel or in your newspaper. And it still is obviously intensely competitive for-profit business. And if you don't win, you lose. And if you keep losing, you're out of a job. And you know this, and I know this. And these US government used to control the media in this way within limits. If a scandal happens, of course, the government might not have so much control. Like some horrible atrocity happens in Vietnam, lots of innocent villagers are slaughtered by US military forces. Okay, those journalists do their own reporting. But 80% of the time, 80% of your information comes from the government and government sources. But that's become less the case with this proliferation of media outlets that just make up their information, make up lies. They just make up stuff. Okay, so US formally supports the increasing freedom of speech and media coverage in the world, but it's also led to a breakdown in the policymaking process because of the vulnerabilities and weaknesses of the US being more clearly evident to the whole world, thanks to QAnon and other examples of wild conspiracy theories and polarization and hatreds intensifying in America among Americans saying, I'm a good American, you're not just wrong, you are a bad American. You're not just wrong, you're evil. You're a satanic pedophile cannibal. Die! So there's concern about violence. QAnon has been identified by the FBI as a potential terrorist threat. People are going to start killing other people over this. Some people who are unstable. There are 350 million guns. 350 million weapons, firearms in the United States. My own family, we had 5. 2 shotguns, 2 rifles, and a handgun, just in my house. They're everywhere in the US. So as we said earlier, though, most of the times, most Americans are not interested about foreign affairs except during times of military crisis. But, you know, there's ongoing wars in Afghanistan, in Iraq, where every once in a while Americans come home dead, their face blown off, There are arms missing. So there's still low-level interest always in foreign affairs, at least among those people who are interested in political Islam. And often they're religious people. America's at war with Islam as a satanic religion, they say. Okay, so this is just all basic information. We already talked about new technology is changing old paradigms for thinking about the relationship of media to public opinion to policy, government policy making. There are media outlets that continue to adhere to old news media norms and standards when covering foreign policy, like New York Times, right? The New York Times is credible. It's most influential, not because millions and millions and millions and millions of Americans read it, but because it has big authority among the elite in the US. It's considered the most influential news source because it has the most respect among other people with highest education. So the New York Times doesn't act like Dan Bongino and 4chan and other channels, but it does shape the media agenda for everybody else. You automatically, when you see the New York Times article, 2, 3, 4 days later, you'll see an article on the same topic on CNN. On CNBC, because the New York Times covered it first. And Donald Trump doesn't like the New York Times. Foreign affairs and the media intertwine at various points. Political elites, especially the US president, exploited to their advantage the relationship between the press and the state, and that the state is the primary source of news. So that summarizes the points I just made, right? For these far-reaching, distant policies involving deployments thousands of miles away, journalists often just repeat the information that the government gives them. Americans don't generally follow foreign affairs very closely, and those that do are motivated militant minorities, often ethnic lobbies like the Jewish lobby, the Armenian lobby, the evangelical Christian lobby. During times of crisis, there can be rallies in public opinion, and I guess you would call the pandemic obviously a crisis. And Donald Trump is claiming China's responsible. China, 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 China. So we're seeing more interest in foreign affairs today in the current political campaign. And people are saying, analysts are saying, even if Biden wins and becomes president, the relationship between US and China will not return to what it was before Trump was elected president. It's changed too much. Thanks to the American president exploiting the Chinese issue and appealing to those sections of the population that believe that their lives have been hurt by China. For example, people working in factories that cannot compete with Chinese factories to make basic steel, for example. So emotions also have a function regarding how people interpret international events and news. Catastrophic war damage causes people to react strongly. Images on television, seeing dead people, and so on, cause an effect. But social media has greatly changed how rapidly Americans receive massive amounts of information. So, okay, so let's see, what else do I have here? So for example, here's, the New York Times coverage of the social media has intensified over the last few years. Here's an example of social media. How a voting lie spreads like fire on social media. This is from just yesterday. The lies took off so rapidly on Facebook and Twitter that local election officials could not contain them. Falsehoods about Tuesday's election have overwhelmed local election officials who said they were dealing with tsunamis of misinformation, have lost sleep, and were working extra long hours. They can't keep up with the lies being spread on social media. The data showed how a single rumor
pushing a false narrative could rapidly gain traction on Facebook and Twitter, generating tens of thousands of shares and comments. That has made the misinformation particularly hard for election officials to fight. The true cost of misinformation are not paid by the platform companies. Platform means Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so on, right? They like lots of traffic because they get lots of viewers and can sell lots of advertising time to advertisers. The true cost of misinformation are not paid by platform companies, said Joan Donovan, the research director at Harvard University Shorenstein Center. They are paid by everyone else who has to deal with the aftermath. A spokesman for Facebook, Andy Stone, said that it prohibits voter interference, is working with fact-checking organizations, and introduced a voter information hub of accurate information. So, for example, what we have found, and this, who is this person? These people are the New York Times social media reporters covering social media. Social media itself as a coverage of the New York Times. Here's what we found. False claims about ballot harvesting. This misinformation features the unproven assertion that ballots are being harvested or collected and dropped off in bulk by unauthorized people. In the example we focused on, Representative Ilhan Omar, remember I talked about her in class? A Minnesota Democrat in the Congress, was falsely accused last month of being engaged in or connected to a systematic illegal ballot harvesting. In other words, they're stuffing the ballot boxes with fake votes so that she wins. There were 3,959 public Facebook posts sharing this rumor, according to our analysis. Those posts generated almost 1 million likes, comments, and shares. Among those who shared the lie were pro-Trump Facebook groups targeting Minnesota residents, as well as President Trump himself. At least 26,000 tweets also discussed the falsehood. They can't keep up. Even if they say it's wrong, it's too late. Almost 1 million people already commented on it. False claims of mail-in ballots being dumped or shredded. The article generated 163 individual posts on Facebook. It was liked, commented, and shared 91,000 times on the social network, according to our analysis. It was posted 1,000 times on Twitter. PolitiFact debunked the video in which the article was based. Facebook added a label to posts that shared the rumor saying it contained false information. The Right Scoop later corrected its post. They're the ones that posted that lie. But its correction did not travel as far as the lie, receiving just a single like on Facebook. The Right Scoop did not respond to a request for comment from New York Times. People want lies. People want to be entertained. They want to believe in conspiracies. Hey, did you watch Lord of the Rings movies? Wouldn't it be great if we all lived in a Lord of the Rings world where there was evil versus good? You knew who the evil guys were, and you were the good guy fighting against evil, in which Sauron is everywhere. Conspiracies are fun. Conspiracies make the world fascinating, interesting, particularly if I'm a scared, pathetic, frightened young man who doesn't know how to deal with the world. Tell me simple lies that make me feel insecure. At least friendly lies that help me get friends, Facebook friends, people who like me. Entertain me. Entertain me. And call it news. Call it news. That way I feel like I'm not entertained, I'm being informed. Again, remember, you're Xi Jinping in China? That's democracy? We don't need that. Our model's better. A vanguard of the proletariat, the Communist Party, shall lead and guide the people to prevent this disaster that is the United States. No, thank you, Migu. No, thank you. We don't need your model here in Zhonggu, China, Zhonggu. false claims of planned violence at polling sites by Antifa, anti-fascist, and Black Lives Matter protesters. The false rumor was then shared 472 public Facebook posts. According to our analysis, it generated almost 100,000 likes, shares, and comments. On Twitter, the rumor was shared at least 400 times. So please respond to the following statement. The Chinese model for social media regulation is better than the American model for social media regulation. So click here. Yeah, click here. Okay, so I just don't want to, no, click here. So vote. Please respond to the following statement. The Chinese model for social media regulation is better than the American model for social media regulation. You know, the Chinese censor their social media. They watch what's posted. They will remove what's posted on, what is it, Weibo? Is there Twitter? Weibo, right? You disagree. You strongly disagree. 30 seconds. Two more people have to vote. One more person. Ten seconds. Okay, so share results, click here. And so there you see, so you disagree. No, the American model is not worse. The Chinese model is worse. So then, if that's the case, then what is the Chinese model? What is the American model? Okay, so let me close that and then here's breakout groups. Okay. Here, this one. And let's pick up with some more. Okay. And randomly assign. Okay. Oh, actually, we only have one person before. So, Young William, you work with you're in 3 groups. So go around and Young William, you're in 1 group. Laura and Sang and one. So give me these groups, please. And go around and Young will combine in 1 group. So give me your groups, please. Get together. Yes. Yeah, you're assigned here. Why aren't you here? Where are you? Huh? Why aren't you there? Did you not sign? Did you get on the Zoom? You should get on the Zoom. That's why I asked you to bring your laptop so you can do this. So are you? Well, no, I want you to break up, get to know each other. That's why I want you in the signs, know each other, friends, you know. I mean, that's why I asked you to. You need to sign into Zoom because that's where you get participation credit as well. Well, then I will sign you. You work with Young. You two work with Miss Lee. Where's Miss Lee? You will leave. She's not here. Miss Lee. Young.
Sir, but here's Hunter.
Huh?
So the breakout room 4 is the 2 people.
I know. So I was going to assign them. Where's Young Lee?
I'm here. Yeah, did you hear me? Can you hear me?
Not here.
She's not here.
No.
Can you guys sign on the Zoom so we can do this again? Sign on the Zoom. Let's do this one time.
That's okay.
We have to do it. We have to do it this way. Like the union policy, we have Friday after class. I said sign on the Zoom. Okay, are you also standing? So break out of groups here. How do I do?
First, second. Blip. Oh.
Can you hear the voice?
This one?
Yeah.
This one.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. Okay, so now you're in your groups.
Yeah, we have 4
Okay,
groups.
so you're in your groups.
Yes.
And where you know it's not here, you're zooming in. Okay, so the question is, among the 4 groups, what is the Chinese American model? So you're 4 groups together. So get up, move your groups apart from each other, okay? Get up, get up.
My list?
So where's Sarah and Carl? Okay, and where is Sue?
My list?
Where's Yarno? Yarno's here?
Ayarna is not here. And Laura are also not here.
Yeah, okay, fine. So I want you to talk to each other, each other. Take out a piece of paper, right? Write your name on a piece of paper that you're in. We have to quit in these 10 minutes here because I gotta see this file.
What is the Chinese model and the American model?
Which group are you in? You didn't sign up for your group?
Pardon?
Where are you?
Maybe the
I think it's just like
public
when do
or maybe public opinion or media. Like, yeah, because today we all talk about that. FNS media, maybe concerning the media or the public opinion, which can be formed about from the social media,
And so,
like Instagram or Twitter. Yeah.
what is the Chinese
Pardon?
social media forbidden in China.
Yes, right.
There is no,
They don't.
Also,
you know,
I think they want us
right now,
to write something
our
and then to give a
some minutes.
we can just say that the American makes a law free that the Chinese. They have to pass the censorship of government. Compare with right now.
here.
They are free to.
Okay, this one is already. Woo-hoo! Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm so, like I said, when I use my laptop, this is all in English, so, it's. I still don't see where Jamel is. I mean, why is Jamel not showing up? Huh?
I sent a message.
Oh. So, the idea is so I'm going to join group 1.
에서 Yeah, Eames inside. He's inside our group.
What did I do now? No.
Oh, I think it would be better to small player.
I guess I should do this too, huh?
I think you have to say why that
Okay, I wrote my statement. Okay, let's hear your statements. And I didn't bring any coins to flip them. So this group. Okay, so what did you come up with in terms of what is the difference between the American and Chinese model? The American model, yes.
So we agreed that the US model for social media regulation is better because it is people's basic right to have freedom of speech instead of having informations just injected from the government. And also because US has this kind of social media restrictions, so that a lot of people could bring out or show their ideas and share their ideas, so it enables people to think in many ways instead of like certain ways that are injected by the government.
Did you both agree with that? You did. Well, I mean, like I wrote in my comment, just because I wrote opposite point of view. Who has controlled the virus? France went back into lockdown. China, 0 infections. Growing at 4 or 5% a year.
You don't know that's
U.S. is out of control. I mean, even if Joe Biden wins tomorrow, I don't know if America will be left on January 20th. What will be left for Joe Biden to assume leadership? Even if Donald Trump loses, he's still there until January 20th. And they're not even trying to control it. I mean, it's up to 100,000 new infections a day now. And we're here at November 2nd. You really going to argue it's clearly the American model is better. Yeah, clearly. Okay. And I mention this not just about the coronavirus, about climate change, that there's going to be more and more of these type of crises over the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, as the world deals with climate change, more droughts, more environmental disasters, and there's going to be more and more conflict. Who's going to provide global leadership to deal with these problems? The United States or China? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a rabbit by his toe. You know, we didn't say it that way when I was a child. When I was a small child, it was eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a N-word by his toe. If he hollered, let him go. Just to show you how embedded racism is in the United States, that Donald Trump is exploiting to become president, right? America is based upon white supremacy. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a rabbit by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. This in the back.
Thank you. So the Chinese model, whoa, sorry about that. All good? So the Chinese model, by and large, is completely controlled by the government, right? Whereas the American model, it is partially controlled, but mainly it's because of freedom of speech, there is a lot more leeway. We thought about the good and the pros and cons about each model. The Chinese model, you know, because everything is controlled, everything's all washed down, it means that public opinion can be fused together, or public opinion is like all controlled, and everybody is united into one particular view. On the other side, America, it's good. Freedom is good. Freedom can bring satisfaction to one's life because his views are being represented on the whole stage. The problem is that, how do I put it? Social network services, SNSs, their business, like they need revenue from either ads or maybe concessions or donations and whatnot. So whatever whatever article, whatever tweet, whatever post gets more traction will bring even more revenue, meaning that they gain more, more exposure. Because of that, that can cause more division, more infighting within the society. So in that way, you can see that's a problem. However, we still think that, you know, freedom of speech is still good. So we will prefer it.
I think he said everything we discussed on the chat, so I don't have anything to add particularly.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a rabbit by its tail, if I love, go eat my mo. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a rabbit by its tail, if I love, go eat my mo.
Okay. Is it me? Okay. So we also talked about the differentiations of the Chinese model and the American model concerning the social media and the public opinion. And first of all, we think that the Chinese model can be a representative of the censorship of the government. It means that the a government can be government can affect their impactions on the social media. And also, I heard that the government can gain the user's personal information of this specific social media, and also the government control the content of the media, so it can be hard to write down or argue some specific opinions about the anti-government or anti-Chinese. It can be hard. So, and also we think that the punishment can be possible, depends on the specific topic or the content of the topic. And for instance, we heard that concerning the COVID-19, that one of the scholars of the Chinese government write down his opinions concerning the COVID-19, that the reason of the COVID-19 is, how should I say that, is responsible for the Chinese government. He argued that, and after 2 weeks, he was gone. So yeah, so this is one of the example of the Chinese model and the punishment or control of the government. And the American model, we think that the American model emphasizes the freedom. So there are several topics or many topics on the media, because there are less censorship of the government, and we know that the government can affect their media's content. Yeah, and it is actually hard to punish some people. Depends on their opinion or content. So yeah, we think that these are differences between the Chinese.
What do you have to add?
Yeah, I think he told everything like what we discussed about. So yeah, we are agree. We agreed. I think the same as he does. Yeah, I don't
What
have.
do you have to add?
We did he tell everything we discussed. So like we discuss about like American model. In American model, even we express whatever we want to say and whatever the way we want to do is not can it's hard to be punishment by government. But the but in Chinese model it's so easy to catch by police or what are the federal agency, state agency. So
And this group.
So before we start, actually I couldn't understand what you wrote in the paper. I couldn't understand your handwriting. Okay, all right. So like before I start,